Good afternoon. You are watching Shank Club NFL broadcasting live on Twitter, Periscope, and of course on YouTube. My name is Nick. I'm one of your hosts. My Twitter handle is @WinWithNiners. A lot of you all follow me already, and you know that I can be a bit controversial. I also run the Shank Club NFL Instagram and also the Twitter page. If you want to follow us on any of our social media, you can always find us at Shank Club NFL. If you want to send us an email because you want to be on the show, or you've got any comments, concerns, or pictures you want to share with us of you with your NFL gear on, don't hesitate to contact us. You can get us at shankclubnfl@mail.com. It's just after 1:30 in the UK. We're ready to talk some AFC South. We've got some great people coming in very, very shortly. But I'm going to throw it over to my main homie, Mr. Steelers himself, Mr. Pete Bentman. Pete, how you doing, bro?
Excellent. I'm doing all right, mate. Yep, as per usual, I've got the jerseys behind me representing black and yellow Steelers. I'm a little bit worried today, though, Nick, because I want to check, have you got sun cream on, mate? Because it looks like you're going to get a very burnt head today sitting in the sun.
No, when I come to work to see you on Monday, I'm going to look like a panda because I've got my brand new glasses on. And, I'm going to be pretty pandered up probably because apparently if I go under here, I look like a Bond villain, even though I'm under the cover. I will be dipping in and out. But, it's all good, Pete. How are you, mate?
Yes, I'm keeping very well. I have to say I've been looking forward to this AFC South show. We are hopefully going to have representatives from all four teams, and we might as well bring the first of them on. Basically, we are going to be starting with Harrison, who is representing the Colts. Let's bring Harrison on. Good to meet you, Harrison.
All right, guys. How's it going?
How you doing, Harrison? We're all good here. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Nick, you're doing your best today, Winston.
Excellent stuff. Okay, we're all... Yeah,
sorry.
He is.
Harrison, just obviously...
Indeed, he is. We will bring on representing... Oh, go on, I'm just going to...
You hear us? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, Harrison...
Well, it looks like we've probably lost Nick. No.
I'll go on. I'm representing the Colts, UK Colt fans.
Good old internet, eh? Good old British internet.
Our Twitter, if you want to check us out, is UK Colt fans. I was just asked to come on this by you with someone who I work with. He thought it was something I'd love to do, and I'm glad to be here, guys.
Apparently, you've got a face for internet broadcast, and he's got a face for radio. Is that correct?
That's right.
Right, Pete, bring on the.
It does seem as though we're we're having a few issues with the internet and a bit of time delay. So we will bring on Rob, who is representing the Tennessee Titans. Rob, nice to meet you, mate.
Hi, chaps. Thanks for having me on. Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, we're all good over here, Rob. So do you do the UK Titans Twitter, etc.? How did you get into them and all that kind of stuff?
I don't, I'm afraid. No, I'm just a private entity on Twitter, but I tweet enough about NFL and Derrick Henry's stiff arm, so I get roped into it. So obviously glad to be here. Started following the Titans after seeing them in 2017 at Wembley against the Chargers, and have rolled with the punches since. So that's the sort of story to date, really.
We followed the Chargers that day up to the Green Man, and their tailgate party was pretty wild, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. Best tailgate ever, that's for sure. Very happy to have you on, though, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Welcome along. Just give out your Twitter handle, Rob.
Yeah, so it's Ross. So it's Rosso 000. So that's it's in the bottom left there if anyone can see it. It's not the easiest one to find, but
Excellent. Okay, Pete, who's next?
Right. Well, yeah. Just I want to double check. Ross, have I been calling you Rob this whole time when you're Ross? If I have, I very much apologise.
I only picked up from Nick then. I couldn't. The Ross and Rob sort of gets lost in here, so you're fine.
Excellent. So it is Ross, just to be sure.
Yeah, it's Ross. Yeah, you're all good. Thanks.
Just yeah. So that's all, mate. Right. Okay. We'll bring in the Shank Club, Jacksonville Jaguars representative. Well, good friends, Robson. He's down below. Let's bring him on.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
Here he is.
Robson.
How you doing, Robson? You good, mate? Yeah, we're
Very
good.
good,
Thanks,
mate.
brother.
Thank you. Yeah, really good. Glad to be back on again. Obviously, talking a bit more about the division this time instead of just purely about the Jags. So yeah, probably have a back against the wall with some bits, but yeah, it should be good fun.
Talking about
So you haven't got any backup this time.
No, not at all.
And talking about names, etc., I was calling you Royston when it should be Robson, so I apologise for that. But you
Sorry, it's fine. You're
get
the
away
first
with
one,
that in DM. That's fine.
Well, obviously,
So-
we've had you on before there, Robson, but if you just want to tell everybody else your sort of background.
Yeah, so as I stated before when I last came on, been following the Jags since 2015. Kind of fell into them by getting hammered over and over, so it just felt like a good fit. Didn't want to seem like a glory hunter. And then obviously the last 2 years I've really knuckled down and probably got into it a lot more. Obviously we've been pretty naff at best, so you have nothing to really gloat about. But yeah, obviously on the Twitter now as well at JagsGB as well. So if anyone wants to come on there and have a little look on the page, obviously I spoke to a couple of the guys as well that are on here today. So yeah, so looking forward to the chat, I must say.
You can never be accused of being a glory hunter following the Jacksonville Jags, that's for sure.
100%.
It's good to have you back on. Before we bring in our last guest, I've just got to do a quick shout out, and I know other people in here have used them. Pick Six Apparel, you can find them on Twitter, Facebook, and they're probably on Instagram as well. They've supplied us with these fantastic mugs. We've got coasters as well, and we've got T-shirts coming soon. So, as usual, Pick Six Apparel. Thank you very much. Over to you, Pete.
Yeah, well, going to be introducing Graham. I think he's also got some Pick Six apparel gear, but representing the Texans, it is going to be Graham. Let's bring Graham in. How are you doing, Graham?
Hi there. You want a wee rundown?
So, Graham, obviously you're going to be representing the Texans. Yeah, give us a little bit of a rundown of your background.
So, name's Graham Henderson. Live up in the northeast of Scotland. I've been following the Texans since 2008. Is when I started following. Funny story is the same. Can't be classed as a glory hunter because the first game I seen them play at NRG was, I think, 45-13 against the Ravens. We got beat. So, you don't usually pick your team based on that. I could have went the Ravens, and then I would have had a Super Bowl and a lot of Ravens gear in here instead. But yeah, I've been following since then. I travel over as much as I can. I've been lucky enough to see them 21 times now live since 2008. 7 games last year, including the London game. So I do my best to get over and try and immerse myself in the Texans as much as I can. And I actually inherited the Texans Twitter UK page a few years ago from someone else. So it was nice of them to give it to me. And I've just tried to make it a community for like-minded people to come and hear their graces with the team and stuff and talk trash about the other 3 guys that are here. So, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I think we all enjoy doing that, don't we, to be fair? And yeah. I've got to say as well, you have definitely got, out of all the people we've had on the show so far, the best man cave going. So, yeah, tip of a hat to the man cave, buddy.
Cheers, thanks.
It's pretty sweet. Nick, I don't know if we've still got you on or you've frozen, but I know you're looking to obviously go into the next segment. Are you still there? If not, no, he's gone. Right, okay, so we might have to just hang fire on the segment that Nick was looking to do. We're just going to have a little bit of fun with some Madden stats.
I think
just
I'm
thought
back
it might
now,
have been a
Pete.
little bit of fun. Oh, here he is. He's back. Yes, you are.
Even the British
excellent
internet
stuff.
fails.
Well, if I bring on the I've got to be honest, it is struggling today, so it could be a mixture of everybody's. Go on, President.
So, Madden NFL 21 team ratings.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we've got it on screen, mate. There's been a lot of heat from a lot of people. Does anyone actually care about these ratings?
No.
Not really.
I think the players do, don't they? I know Darius Leonard is part of that in a minute, because he's rated an 85. I don't understand why. I don't think anyone does, but
I mean, it's as if kind of.
I think Thomas from the Saints liked it. He got the 99 club, got his medallion.
They kind of are ranking I don't know how they get to these rankings, because I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have had the Texans at 80. Who else? Where are the Jags? Let me find. Jags 78, which I think is ridiculous. It's just people get their knickers in a twist or panties in a bunch, if you're listening in America, over these things. I mean, Kansas City at 82 coming off a Super Bowl win is ridiculous, really. I mean, the top three, as far as I'm concerned, forgetting marks and all that, should really still be Kansas, the Niners, and then a split between possibly the Ravens and the Saints. But individual player.
I'm quite enjoying seeing the Colts on 82, the same as the Chiefs. I'm sure Harrison's sort of probably stoked over that one, and the Steelers.
Yeah, it feels like overall that's where we are as a team at the minute, especially after last season when Andrew retired 2 weeks before the season started. Great, but the individual player ratings, I think, is what annoyed a lot of Colt fans, because they just trashed us massively.
But anyway, I mean, to me,
I think it's just the fact that there really isn't a lot to talk about, is there?
The thing that strikes me in Madden is that there's not enough to separate the average teams to the bad teams. You're looking at like a factor of 2 or 3 difference between, the Colts and say, the Vikings or the Titans, and yet there's only two points separating those two teams from the Jags and the Jets, which I think, that it doesn't allow them enough wriggle room there, really.
Oh, what a surprise! Brit Chief UK. He does like to. Well, both of us have a back and forth, and no doubt when I say that George Kittle is better than Kelsey, no wonder. I bet you there's going to be a comment that pops up in a minute. But
you're just gaslighting there.
He's not coming on this show, so I can stop his comments coming on. So that's no. But all seriously, Brit's Chief, we do have a bit of a back and forth, and well, hopefully it's all good, and we will be doing a Chief special coming up very soon. But that's for another time. Right, Pete, shall we get into the division and what we want to talk about?
Yeah, can do, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with a little bit of time delay on everything, me pressing all the buttons, it's probably not going to be the most visually pretty program. But I mean, we're all on here, we're all going. So I'm pretty sure we said we were going to start with Graham and we were going to talk Houston Texans. So if you basically want to sort of give us a rundown of how you think your draft went, Graham.
Well, there wasn't much to our draft, to be fair. We'd given away a lot of our picks in dubious amounts of trades over the last couple of seasons. But I think to look at it, I think we just was really in fields of need. You break everything down into what you actually really need right now. And I think we did that with taking Ross Blacklock, number 1, a defensive tackle. We knew that Reader was maybe going to be on his way out. We traded away Clowney, which I think a lot of people were still angry about that, but I think what we got in return for that trade really made a difference with Jacob Martin and stuff like that. So for us, the draft wasn't really excessively long. There was no need for me to watch it on night 1. But I believe that we picked need, but there's been a lot of people put together pieces showing what we've got for our trades, as opposed to picking draft picks. And when you put that all together, it actually looks like you wouldn't be able to draft that talent. If you went number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, if you look at the guys that we've brought in, you couldn't have that from a draft. So that's where we've went different this year over the last couple of years with the GM of Bill O'Brien. A lot of people hate on him. I'm still on the fence with him. I don't really mind him, but I think to pick who we picked first with Ross was the big one for me. I think he's going to be quite effective. I don't think he'll see a lot of double teams if JJ stays fit, so that could put his stock right up right away. Took a couple linebackers as well. That because over the years we've had good linebackers. We used to be called the Bulls on Parade, but for me, we haven't had the same bite since the man Brian Cushion left. And I know a lot of people have got ped issues with him, but he really was a leader in the middle there. And I think with Bernardrick McKinney, he's not fast enough. So we'll have Zach Cunningham now, and we drafted in guys to be around Zach Cunningham, in my opinion. I actually was expecting to see Bernardrick McKinney traded out this year as well. But yeah, so our draft wasn't very extensive. We didn't pick a lot of positions because we didn't have a lot of draft picks. And the same could be said for the next couple of seasons. So draft went as well as could be expected for me, I believe. Yeah.
One thing I just want to say about Cushing, watching him on Hard Knocks, he looked like a real teamster, a real guy, and I think, he will definitely be missed because he is one of those players that really pumps everyone up, and I think you could see that in that show.
Yeah, he's still in the facility. That's the good thing, They brought him back as a strength coach, so.
Hopefully he's not giving them any sacks that he was using.
No, but you do see him out there before the game, mingling with a lot of players. He's G'ing everyone up. I've seen him up close when I was been over for a game or two. Like in Nashville, you get really close to the players before the game, because that's the way the stadium's built. And when the players are training and warming up beforehand, you get to really see how the coaches interact with people. And he's one of those guys who just interacts and gets them going. And you see him in about everyone, but mostly the linebacker crew. Yeah.
Do you feel that Ross, sort of Blacklock, do you think get him in a second, is he going to be coming straight in, or is there realistically nobody that's going to sort of really going to hit the ground running and come sort of week 1 be on the field?
I was speaking to this last night with my cousin. He's a Titans fan. We were both agreeing that it's going to be hard for these guys this year. With the whole COVID thing and not being able to get in the facility as quick as you normally get in. You're not getting the same kind of reps you would normally get in. So it's going to be really tough on this rookies this year. And we'd like the season to go ahead, but it's all still up in the air. But if it goes ahead, I don't see how much time these guys are going to get. You're going to stick with who you know, even if you don't maybe rate them as high, but you've seen a lot more game time with them. So that's what I believe anyway. I think these guys are going to really struggle to get into any of the teams unless they're, a walk-in guy first rounder, like first pick. You know, you're gonna throw him in. He's NFL ready, but yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was just going to say, do you want to, obviously, if, like I said, it wasn't a huge draft for you guys, no first round picks, so perhaps you want to sort of go into, I guess, the sort of main trades, free agency, probably one of the biggest moves of the season come from your team. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, Hopkins goes out, and we get in a couple picks and David Johnson. Now, David Johnson was quite a good player a couple of years ago, and he could be that good player again, but I think Houston was really shell-shocked when that trade happened. I think the NFL community was really shell-shocked when that one happened. I don't think it was just our fan base, but there was a lot of anger and, you know, calls for Bill go, get fired, Carl, step up, sack the man. You know, he's ruining our franchise. But there must be more to the story. There's always more to the story. Yeah.
Can I just interject? Sorry. There was a lot, just a quick comment that's come up on screen. My man Nick from Nothing But Niners is tuned in. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. We'll talk soon. With Bill O'Brien, it seems that he kind of upsets a lot of players and he's fallen out with a lot. And Hopkins seems to be one of them. Now, obviously, they fired the GM and he's now taken over the GM role and obviously head coach. And I can see why people will be shocked with that trade, obviously, because you've lost your premier receiver and got a running back coming in that really was quite bad last year, injured and things like that, and you've given away your premier receiver. So I can understand that.
Yeah. And not for a first round draft pick either.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, I can't see how, you know, as you say, there must be something going on in the background that has obviously facilitated that, because to me, the only team that has won out of that is the Cardinals, and it certainly wasn't you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how much you see other teams, players' Twitters and stuff. You know, I still follow Hopkins on Twitter, and he made a comment when Mahomes signed his deal. I don't know, did you see any of that? He put the score line in from our game against them into the tweet. You know, the 24-0, but it was like subliminally in there about how he should be getting paid the money because 24 and then 0 whatever, and it was like a parting shot at the Texans. Really, it's like, well, you obviously there must be some sort of needle there. I think he was maybe just too powerful a personality in the locker room, and I don't think Bill O'Brien likes that. You know, he's wanting to run things like Bill Belichick. You know, the rule ends with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, the differences between Belichick and O'Brien is Belichick runs that team.
Yeah.
I don't think Bill O'Brien does. And everyone has tried to copy the Patriots way, and it's blown up in their face. To be honest, I can only see this being bad. I can't see it being a positive. You swap a future Hall of Famer for sort of, I wouldn't call him a journeyman running back because that's not fair, but you kind of get my point, where to be honest, I think it can only end in tears, and a lot of people are saying that O'Brien's on a hot seat, but obviously we can get into that afterwards. So what's your what do you think your record's going to be this year, and with your loss?
Hello. Oh yeah. Yeah. So the record this year for us, like, I'm always on the optimistic side. You know, every one of us here will probably give ourselves a winning record. But I can genuinely see with our schedule, there's some tough games in there, but I can genuinely see us going 11-5. I think the Titans will take a game. I think Green Bay will take a game. The Colts will take one of the games. I think we'll take the double on the Jags, though. Sorry, but I genuinely think that. And
I think we might see a running theme with that one somehow.
Yeah. And I think Minnesota possibly take one. But I think we'll do well. We're meant to play Detroit on Thanksgiving. That game worked out well for us last time, back in 2012. You know, that was a bit of controversy there as well. But yeah, I think we'll do all right. I think our wide receiving core is better than most are giving us credit for. I think we might have lost one premier receiver, but we've gained a few dependable ones, options. So I think we can go 11-5.
Graham, Nick, I think sort of knows this already, but the Texans are my sleeper team for this season. If I wasn't supporting the Steelers, I would be backing your boys because they're probably the team I've watched a little bit more than anybody else sort of during this COVID pandemic. I like the way you guys play. I felt you were very unlucky last season. Obviously, I noticed where you were giving your 11-5 there. You didn't say that you were going to be losing to the Chiefs. So I'm guessing the opening game of the season, you and me are sticking together and saying that your boys are going to beat them again down an Arrowhead.
Yeah.
But I seriously think that you guys are going to be doing well this year. And as you were saying there about the receiving core, getting Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller looks amazing. Kenny Stills is a good player. You got two manageable sort of running backs there. So the offense with Watson there is going to be as good as any. I guess it's just whether you guys can hold it together on defense.
Yeah. And our offensive line's always improving. I don't think we get the credit now that our offensive line has moved on from 2 seasons ago. It's not as good as like Indianapolis's line, but it's getting there.
I think with your receiving core, just going to that quickly before we move on to the next team, Will Fuller has got to stay fit. He is an amazing player. Yeah. He is a great player. And you know what? If Hopkins had gone down last season, I think if he'd have stayed fit, he'd have carried the load and he would have shown his worth because he is a great receiver.
Well, I was lucky enough to be at the Atlanta game when Fuller went off. 200 plus yards, like 2 touchdowns, and it was unbelievable. He was unmarkable. Nobody could even. There was double and triple teams. You just couldn't look at him. The ball he was catching was unbelievable.
That sounds like we're talking about George Kittle. Sorry.
No, we're Fuller. Oh, no. But Fuller, and I was sitting there realizing that I'd left him out of my fantasy team that day. So that was like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I have put him in a few times, and he hasn't disappointed.
Yeah.
But as I say, his issue, he must stay fit. You've got a great QB who, he'll pull the ball down if his reads aren't open and he'll go. But to me, Kenny Stills is one of those players. Again, on his day, he's fine. But if things aren't going his way, he shrinks, disappears. He's an Odell Beckham type where he'll throw shit on the sidelines and get all upset because things aren't going his way. I think if Will Fuller stays fit, I think your prediction's pretty cool, to be honest. Okay, thanks for that insight. Okay, Pete, throw it to you. Who's next?
Yes, next man up, we've got Harrison, who is representing the Colts. Harrison, obviously you've introduced yourself already. Why don't we just sort of go straight into talking about what you boys done in the draft this season?
Well, Chris Ballard, draft genius, as Moise is saying. He's done it again. Sorted us right out. Moise is saying our first round pick was the trade for DeForest Buckner. Massive pickup. I think it was a good trade all around. He kept trading back like he usually does, getting more and more picks, and I think we picked up some good players, especially Jonathan Taylor. Him and Marlon Mack together, I think Frank Reich said it himself, it's going to be a 1-1 punch because they're two stud running backs. And my favourite pick of the draft is Isaiah Rodgers. That guy, they say, watch out when you're in Mr. Rogers' neighbourhood because he is lethal. But yeah, same as Texans, didn't really watch it on the first night because we traded out of the first round. We picked up, I think we got who we needed to build into the future, like Jacob Eason. But, it's one of them we don't really know until the season starts, but I liked our draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it looks all right. I was, like I say, again, another team that didn't have a first round sort of draft pick there. So everyone's looking forward to the draft, and all of a sudden it comes day one and there's no point watching it. I was with you guys, same as it sucks. It sucks having sort of nothing to sort of pay attention to in the draft. But obviously you've gone to the wide receiver, gone running back. Good to obviously sort of have another guy there sort of behind Marlon Mack. He definitely looks good, and another sort of target for, I'm assuming, Rivers to possibly sort of throw to. But again, I guess similar sort of situation. No one there that looks like it's going to sort of be lighting anything up come week one. It might just be a little bit of a sort of a blood in and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think with the Colts, no one expected Andrew Luck to retire, not even our own fans. And I think from that moment, our whole 5-year plan, or whatever you want to say, changed instantly. And it was about who we're going to build the team around. Go on, Nick, sorry.
That was definitely a big loss, Andrew Luck retiring. And it kind of puts into perspective just the punishment these players go through. Doesn't matter what position. And you picking up Defoe from the Niners, to us, I think it was to me, it was a good trade. And I'll tell you for why, because we couldn't afford to pay 2 defensive linemen. Don't get me wrong, DeForest Buckner is an awesome player, really, really good. But I didn't think he was worth what he was asking from us, because that would have obviously affected what we were trying to do going forward. And for us to get that position in the first round, to me, all day long, I'm sorry, Defoe, if you're watching, which obviously you're not, but anyway.
He's a big fan. He's a big fan. He'll be watching.
I would have taken that trade all day long, because I think we have improved, but definitely 100% so have you on your defensive line, which I think you needed to kind of upgrade and kick the tires on. So, as you said, to me, both of us have done really, really well out of it.
Like you say, our D line, it wasn't the best in the league. Especially, we play quite a conservative defense, where we did last season. It weren't the best. We needed to get someone to take the pressure off Leonard and Kenny Moore, Malik Hooker, someone else who everyone else can look at. So for us to, I think it was right, a first round pick for DeForest Buckner. Like I said, I think you guys picked, I don't know who you picked up in the first round, but it was, everyone was saying it was sort of a straight swap sort of thing.
Yeah, we went Javon Kinlaw, who plays basically the same position on the line. Going from a Niners perspective, a lot of people were saying that because they couldn't afford them, when they traded, they took the cheaper option, because obviously we signed him to a 5-year deal now, and he's a bit cheaper, etc. But to be honest, I don't think you'll see much of a drop-off in production between the two. It'd be interesting to see, because obviously, again, being a rookie, he's not having OTAs, he's not having a rookie mini camp, he's going straight into camp, but he will have to step up. The same as DeForest Buckner with you guys now. Without anything, he's got to walk in that building and he's got it, and he will do. He will. The Colts fans, seriously, he will walk in that building, and he'll hit it straight away, which is exactly what you need. So, as I said, I think that trade really worked out for both of us brilliantly, to be honest.
Yeah, fully agree. I think we was looking for. We have a lot of alpha dogs on the defense, but we didn't really have a captain or leader to say. I think Matt Abel-Boyce was looking for someone to point in the emotions, keep them nice and calm and actually drive them in the right way. It's nice to see the swag, and we all like seeing it, but sometimes you need someone to be like, look, let's keep on track, keep focused. And I think
the other good thing about him, he's a really nice guy, and he does a lot in the community, which again shows the kind of person that that he is. And everybody, like JJ Watt at the Texans, we all saw what happened when the hurricane happened, and you need a focus point, and I think he will be a focus point for your team for his charitable work and all that kind of stuff. So again, he will bring a lot of attention to the team where it's kind of needed, if that makes sense as well, with what he does off the field. I know it's a lot to do with what goes on the field, but a lot of these people like to see that these players are human, and he's a good dude.
Yeah. And obviously, talking of players hitting the ground running, obviously you guys got a pretty hot-handed QB this season. I'm guessing he's going to be playing second fiddle to Brissett, I would imagine.
I think last season we started off on fire. I think everyone will agree with that. And then I think Brissett actually got injured in the Steelers game, maybe, or it was just before that, and he was never the same after.
So the Steelers beat him up, mate. Brian Hoyer came in.
The great Brian Hoyer. Probably a nice guy, so I shouldn't really.
Nothing wrong with Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer looks fantastic in training camp and pre-season games until you put him in front of a real defense and he craps himself, and that's it. See you later.
If it wasn't for the fact that they shanked a game-winning field goal at the end, then Brian Hoyer would have got a W over the Steelers. So I'm quite thankful for possibly the worst field goal attempt ever by a very good kicker.
I think that's where we fell short in a lot of games, even against the Chargers in overtime. First game of the season, we missed a game-winning field goal. People don't expect Adam Vinatieri to miss field goals because he's such a clutch kicker, but apparently he had an injury and sort of thing, and he was working through it. But we did bring in Blankenship. I'm not sure if he got his name wrong. Canadian fella who I think is going to be our kicker going forward. But I think we also picked up a tight end from the Steelers. Was it? I can't remember his name.
You got a fullback, Roosevelt Nix. You got our fullback. You got not too many players. Not many teams use them nowadays, do they?
Yeah. So it looks like going into the next couple of years, it's going to be Rivers to Hilton a lot, but we are going to be a strong running team. I think we're going to try and copy what the Titans have done with Derrick Henry and just try and run teams over.
It's very interesting what you say, Pete, actually, about fullbacks, because obviously the Niners have got the highest paid fullback in the NFL in Juszczyk, and there aren't many teams that go two-back sets, and it's quite amazing to me, actually, that not many do. It seems that it's a dying art, so I'm glad that the Colts have hopefully going to utilise him, because they are still players in the NFL that can sneak out and do things and block and stuff. It just amazes me that not many people use them more, to be honest.
I agree. I guess it's just a new era of QBs and maybe playing a bit more sort of option, isn't it? So they're sort of not really used, but So heading towards the goal line, they can certainly make a difference. Obviously, we've sort of only just touched on Philip Rivers there, but I mean, you guys have got to be pretty excited having him in. It's got to give you much more of a chance than obviously having Brissett last year.
Yeah.
You've got to be do you guys seriously think that you're going to be contending for the division this year?
Yeah, I think, most of the time, I think last year was a very tight division and tight games could have gone either way here and there. And, I think at one point we could have finished fourth and then one point we could have won it. So it was that sort of season for us. I don't want to sound cocky, but I'd like to think we are going to win it just because of the people we've got in, like the Forest Butler and Philip Rivers. Got future Hall of Fame quarterback. But it's one of them things for Colt fans at the minute. We don't know it until we get going.
Just to jump in on
what
Philip Rivers thing, I did mention on one of our very, very early shows, if Rivers can recapture his form from maybe 3-4 years ago, it's going to be an asset. If he plays like he did last season, I can see Jacoby jumping back in because he was getting picked left, right, and centre, and he wasn't seeing the field. He wasn't. Maybe that's got a lot to do with the offensive line. I don't really know, but last year Rivers, and I love Philip Rivers. He's one of those QBs that, a bit like Dan Fouts when he was at San Diego. He's one of the people that you watch the game just because of him, not because of the teams that are playing. Because I mean, I don't obviously have any affiliation apart from with the 49ers, but I'll watch a Green Bay game, I'll watch the San Diego games just purely for the QB play, like even with the Jaguars with Gardner now, which obviously we're going to touch on shortly. He makes you want to watch that team because they are a difference maker, but he can't be last year's Philip Rivers. He needs to get back to what he used to be like.
And I think that's playing on a lot of our Colt fans' minds is that we're paying him a lot of money. I think it's 25 million 1 year, something like that. So we are paying him a lot of money. So a lot of people saying he was done after last season. He's no good anymore. But people are forgetting that he did work with Frank Reich. And if Frank Reich can get, like Nick was saying, the Philip Rivers of 3-4 years ago, then I think the Colts are looking good.
Yeah, I think obviously you guys are going to be very similar to us, hoping that you get a QB of, I think they came out the same draft class, Roethlisberger and Rivers. Yeah. It's just it's whether they can still sort of perform. Just to me, the jury's out still. I'm not too sure Rivers is going to change you guys too much. Yeah. It's definitely going to sort of maybe sort of push you, maybe sort of 1 or 2 more wins, which will sort of potentially sort of change you from a 7-9 team to maybe a 9-7. But I still don't think that with Rivers there, you've got enough, to really sort of push the Texans, possibly the Titans. It's going to be tough for you guys to get out of that division and make the playoffs, I have to say. But definitely with Rivers there, you're going to have more of a chance. But I still think it's going to be a bit of a push. I mean, what do you actually think that your record's going to be this season, Harrison?
I want to be 16-0 in the Super Bowl, like everyone. But it is going to be hard for Colts fans. It's a lot of new pieces coming in and trying to work together. And like with the short off season, well, to say because of COVID, it's going to be hard to get these guys off the same page. I think one person who's going to be vital in that season is Ty. He needs to stay fit. A lot of people forget about him, but he is a great receiver. I'm going to be optimistic. Why not? I would 12-4. I think is what I really hope for. That's like best case scenario. So I'll go for that. I think tight games or main games. I think big one for us is Chicago. I know they're not an amazing team at the minute, but there's a little bit of rivalry there from back in the day of when the Colts were in Baltimore, and then we came over to Indy and we didn't really have a fan base, so there's a bit of rivalry there.
Trust me, if Trubisky is a quarterback for Chicago come week 1, you've got nothing to worry about because he stinks. Trust me.
But before we head on to the sort of next team, I wouldn't mind just asking a quick sort of personal question, really, Harrison. Obviously, the Steelers bringing in Eric Ebron this season. What sort of player are we getting? Are we getting a player that's potentially going to be sitting on the sidelines for most of the season, or are we actually going to have a player that's going to make a difference?
I think that a lot went on behind the scenes. I think he thought he should be getting paid more, like a lot of NFL players do, which I've got no problem with that. I think he's our highest scoring tight end in a season. So he set that record for us. He is a really good player, but he's sort of one of them players who needs not putting in his box, but just someone to keep along the right track, because he can be a quality player. And I think you look at that season before Andrew Luck retired, him and Andrew Luck were an amazing partnership. So I think if Ben can find him, I think you got a good player. And I think what hurt a lot of Colt fans is we thought he could be something for us, like he could be here 5-6 years, but it just didn't work out between him and the head office. But great player.
Excellent. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Marlon Mack this season. He looks like he's a real talent. So definitely sort of looking forward to seeing a bit more of him this season. But before we go on to Ross at the Titans, is there anything sort of more you want to add on your team?
I think Colts, we do good when we're the underdogs and we're not expected to do good. So let's hope people keep sleeping on us. It's when people talk about us, then we usually bottle it because there's pressure. But let's hope you stay nice and quiet, and I'd take a wild card.
Yeah, I think if you do that, I think I would say you've had a pretty successful season and sort of go into it being a bit hot, going into it after a few wins and sort of see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks for all your input there, Harrison. And obviously I appreciate the guys hanging around waiting there so they can say their piece. But now we're sort of going to go on to Ross, who is Tennessee Titans representative for today. Ross, thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for waiting. Robson, you'll get your turn, mate. So hang in there, buddy. You keep drinking that Ribena. We'll get round to you shortly. But Ross, if you can obviously give us a heads up on how your draft went this season, mate.
Sure. So we lost Jack Conklin at right tackle to the Browns, who signed quite a big money move there. Replaced him with Isaiah Wilson in the first round. I think it raised a few eyebrows. I think they possibly picked on position rather than talent there. I think it wouldn't surprise too many people if Dennis Kelly was the right tackle starter and then Wilson sort of grows into the position. But the rest of the draft looked, pretty successful in most people's eyes. I think, picking up Christian Fulton in the second round to, sort of provide a direct replacement for Logan Ryan looks like good business. A bit more speed in the secondary was probably a long time needed. And picking up a sort of pass catching running back in Evans looks like a good option as well for the sort of third down plays when potentially Henry is least effective. So successful enough draft. I think the sort of big pluses for us in the off season were the continuity of keeping Henry and re-signing Tannehill. And basically locking down those assets with a big sort of
big money spent, wasn't it?
Yeah,
big money spent.
And just with the situation with COVID and everything, I think that continuity this season will probably play quite a big part for the opening few games. So hopefully, sort of keep a good thing rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously you've got Fulton out of LSU. Basically, any sort of player this season coming out of LSU seems to sort of people are looking forward to seeing. Had a brilliant season last year. Obviously, the number one draft pick overall, coming from LSU. But plenty of sort of teams making use of some of their players this year. Obviously, you've got the cornerback there, but you've obviously got offensive tackle in round 1, which obviously protecting Tannehill is probably going to be sort of key, really, isn't it? I mean, I think the jury's sort of still out on him, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, the O-line last year was probably, a lot to credit for Henry's yards on the ground. Conklin and the tight ends do a good job of the blocking, and the left side with Taylor Lewan and Saffold, they're pretty tight. So hopefully, Wilson can grow into it and add to that O-line. But I think keeping Tannehill fit will obviously be crucial to us. I know he had a few issues down in Miami, so but I think if he's anything like last year, we're on to a winner.
That's your biggest issue, I think, is obviously. Sorry, Pete. You've spent a fortune and you've given Tannehill a new contract off of one kind of. I know Mariota stunk the place up when you brought him in, and he lifted the team. Do you honestly think that he's going to continue on that path? Because you've spent a fortune on him, and he is unproven. He is injury prone, and I like Tannehill coming out of college, and I thought, surprise, surprise, Miami ruined him, but then that's Adam Gase, but that's another story. Do you honestly think that he'll continue on that path this season?
I mean, personally, I expect a slight regression. Nothing too severe, but I think that the heights of last season were so high from Tannehill. I think they surpassed all reasonable expectations.
Definitely.
You see him as a backup. You think you've got a good man there for a number 2 QB. But I think the play action. I think the game against the Chiefs where we came back to win. It was nice to have someone who looked like a bit of a leader on the pitch. I think that was what was missing with Mariota at times. And he's actually probably a bit overlooked when it comes to option plays. He's actually fairly quick out the pocket, Tannehill. So I think we had to sign him. I think we had to give him the deal, but whether it's quite a fairy tale as last season is yet to be seen. But I guess the main man there is Henry. We got AJ Brown looks good. Hopefully Humphreys can have a better season. So I think he's got weapons, and there's not that much on him. It's not like it's a QB offense there. So we'll see, but I think we're hopeful.
Yeah, they've always been quite a complete team, Tennessee. It's never necessarily had sort of huge star players, but always sort of seem to, scratch out results. Never sort of really put too many numbers up on offense, but never sort of get smashed and never out the game. So if you can just kind of find that sort of next level, obviously signing Henry is key. I mean, the guy is an absolute beast and has a stiff arm that I'm sure every running back would sort of love to have. And like I say, signing him up is great. But Nick has always been a believer that he only turns up in the second half of the season. So if he can maybe turn up for the first half of the season as well, then might sort of give you a bit more of a chance sort of heading into the playoffs. But I think you definitely sort of did overachieve last year. But maybe it just sort of shows that the strength of the division, the fact that the Colts, the Titans, the Texans all beat the Super Bowl champs last season. Sorry, Robson, the Jags couldn't sort of complete the full pack there. But there's obviously strength in your division, and taking it to Kansas isn't easy. And seeing Tennessee in the postseason, you look really good. And to be fair, if it wasn't for the fourth quarter, which I know we could keep saying about Kansas, you guys were in that game and you were looking really, really strong.
Yeah.
See the last Super Bowl.
I mean, we've always been a good team when we get out ahead. We run the ball well, and the struggle for us last year was coming back into games. When we're down, you look at Deshaun Watson making some unbelievable plays. You don't have that sort of magic man to pull out those moments. I think that's the thing for us this year. If we're behind in a game, how we sort of come back. But if we get out in front, I think we're probably as good as anyone really. But we'll see.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely. It's definitely a team that me and Nick are going to be paying close attention to this year, as we sort of told you off air before it started. Well, yeah, but obviously one of our friends, Cal Garrett, who sort of got picked up after the draft, he's there, the linebacker from Missouri. So we're definitely sort of going to be sort of paying attention to you guys. Whether he sort of makes the final roster might be too much of a dream this season, but knowing the fact that he's sleeping at night with the Tennessee Titans playbook under his pillow and he's on speed dial, it's kind of quite a cool sort of guy to have. But yeah, we'll definitely be paying attention to you guys this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, obviously, other players that you sort of picked up in the off season. Anyone you obviously want to sort of mention?
I mean, Vic Beasley was an interesting one. I thought. I think whether we can quite get the same production from him that Atlanta did from, I think we're looking sort of 4 years ago now, will be interesting to see. I think the last couple of seasons he's had a few issues, sort of been called selfish and whatever, so that'll be interesting to play out. I know Clowney is still being quite heavily linked, so there's a lot of chat on Twitter and that, the whole Vrabel sort of, links that sort of divides opinion, whether he's going to get, 15 million for a year or two.
Just to say something about Clowney,
sure.
He's wanting stupid money, and there's only one team that will pay stupid money, and it will stay in Seattle, because he believes his own hype, and he wants a fortune. I think it was 20 million I saw, or something ridiculous, which puts him in the like. I know JJ Watt isn't earning that money now, so don't get me wrong. But
Graham's putting his hair over.
He's putting him in the JJ Watts. He's putting him in the TJ Watt. He's putting him in the, I don't know, name any player that's elite at that position. And to be honest, if anyone takes a chance on Clowney and pays him that money, then yeah, good luck with that.
For me, I think there was a lot of talk around the 15 million mark recently, and we've got a fair bit of cap room, and I think that the one position that a lot of Titans fans would have identified last year as being a problem would be, as a lot of teams would, pressuring the QB. And I think if Vrabel can get him for a year, or sign him up for a year and see how we get on, I think that would be a move that I'd probably go for.
To be honest, if you look at his last season stats and the season before, and I say this with a lot of players who get traded or cut or moved on, there's a reason why.
Yes,
and he wasn't brilliant in Seattle last year. He was injured a lot. He had a core muscle injury. He had the game against the Niners at the Bell Bottom Stadium, aka Levi's. He was lights out, but then he was injured and he went missing for a lot of the season. You're paying a lot of money, and I mean, I know obviously when he was at the Texans, Graham, talk to me about when he was at the Texans. Was he consistent all the time, or was he up and down and this and that?
Yeah, well,
were you glad to for him to go?
Well, the thing we were always waiting for was the magic season when him and Watt would play either side, and every QB that came in NRG was going to get turned to dust. It never actually happened. One or either was injured at the same time. He had one good year, and it was with Vrabel as his defensive coordinator. So I can see why there would be a link there. I think he does have. He's like you said, he can turn up for games and then disappears from games. So, are you willing to pay the money for that 1 or 2 games that he's going to disrupt? That's it.
I think the thing that Vrabel was often mentioned or quoted about was the ability to detract, or for the offense to double team him, and the focus is on him to let other guys maybe benefit more. It's whether that is worth the money in itself, or whether you're going to get the production out of him. Or
the other thing you say about that's fine if he's on top of his game to attract double teams. But if he isn't, you've paid a fortune for someone that's not going to be effective. He, like JJ Watt, and forgive me, Graham, I've called him JJ overrated for a lot of his career, because every time I've seen him play recently against the Niners or whoever, he's been a non-entity. At the beginning of his career, turn up the what? Fantastic.
Yeah.
But you get that regression where, and I know he's been injured and he's a team leader and stuff, but people always want to always think about how good a player was.
It's nostalgia.
But yeah, exactly. And JJ Watt was mental, massive player.
MVP.
But the thing is, Clowney sort of coming out of college, though. I mean, again, I might be wrong. Was he number 1 draft pick from the Texans?
First overall,
at the time?
I think,
He was.
Yeah, I think
he was, wasn't
first
he? Yeah.
overall, yeah.
He was. And obviously, he's never quite sort of got to that sort of height, but he feels that he is up there with the elite sort of pass rushers, but he's not far off. But I don't think he's quite there. But he wants the money of the elite, doesn't he? And that obviously seems to be this sort of problem on this.
We were speaking.
I think
he's still, the fact that he's still out there in free agency, someone's still going to get a decent player, and someone's still going to improve their roster by bringing him in.
And my cousin was speaking about him last night, for the Titans, and I think he said that he hasn't had a double-digit sack season. So, if that's the case, if the Titans do go for him, you're taking in a guy who isn't hitting double digits, but he's expecting the money, like you said, like Aaron Donald.
It's not good. It isn't going to happen. It just won't, because he hasn't, as you said, as everyone said, he's not elite. So where do you kind of, there's a reason why he's still a free agent. Let's not get too sidetracked, but there's a reason. And it isn't because, he's this elite player. It's because he wants too much money. He thinks far too highly of himself. And I think he stays in Seattle, because because they had him last year, they may be willing to pay that money because they've seen him, they know what he can possibly do when he's not injured. But it's a big gamble for anyone to take, even if he does go there. It's a gamble.
No, it sure is.
Ross, tell me about a player that is lighting it up. Tell me about AJ Brown, because this kid looks impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when we pulled him out the second round last year, I think people were expecting, we needed some weapons, and there was a lot of talk about DK. Obviously went to Seattle in the end, and for me, AJ Brown, is looking like the steal of last year's draft to us. He's deep threat. He even blocks well. The guy, I'm expecting a far better year from him next year. I think we'll still see some improvements. And him and Tannehill just seem to have an instant connection. So hopefully we'll see some cool plays again next year from him.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Look, obviously, let us know what you think about what your record's going to be this season. Then,
sure. I mean, I've looking at it before the show, I saw us around about 10-6. I think we'll win and lose one to each of the Texans and the Colts. I think the first game at Denver is a banana skin. I think possibly last year, not chalking a single point is probably clouding my view on that one a little bit. And then I think the Green Bay, the Baltimore game, and then probably either the Steelers or the Minnesota game, I think we'll probably lose and win one of those.
No, don't bring the Steelers into it. We can't have Pete now going off on a Steelers tangent, please.
I think it'll be one of each. So I'd put us about 10-6. I think that's about where we are.
That's actually very fair. I agree with that, 10-6. But again, it's a coin flip season for a lot of teams in that division.
I think there's three good teams. I don't think there's a standout team. I think there's three good teams, and it wouldn't surprise. I think the Texans are very underrated in the market, very undervalued. I think there's a lot of talk about the Colts, but I think they could go either could go any of the three ways. Sorry, Robson. There's me talking about the three, but I think it could go any of the three.
But it's nice, isn't it? Because obviously Robson's going to be last, and everyone thinks that their team's going to be last. I do apologise, Robson. I can't.
No, it's coming. I don't know if I've got to be honest. I haven't paid too much attention to what's going on next season. Am I right in thinking there's more teams going into the playoff? Is it this season or next season?
It's this season.
7 apparently.
So how's that sort of working with regards? Is it just working on best record?
I think basically what they're trying to do is they're putting more teams, as I understand it. There's going to be more teams in the wild card round, and there is no, I want to say layoff week, but it's not layoff week. You don't get a bye week.
So all I was sort of saying is this could be a division that could be sort of sneaky, and if it all goes in, you could have maybe sort of 3 teams making it sort of through. I mean, is that something that is actually feasible if those sort of all getting 10 and 6 sort of records, 9 and 7 records? Could you potentially have 3 teams from the AFC South making the playoffs?
I think that's happened before, just recently. Last couple of seasons. There's been 3.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, Graham. Under the old rules, but
yeah,
I
under
think
the old
new
rules,
rules, it kind of skews it a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Certainly, I think the year the Jags went far. I think
obviously.
And then the season before last, I think there was 3 because the Colts did you not knock us out of the wild card round? I think we played you like back to back.
Yeah, T.Y. Hill.
Yeah. So, that's why I think the AFC South's so underrated. We've had 3 teams in the playoffs the last couple of years, and we're still one of the. We get this hairy eyeball given to us all the time. Anytime someone speaks to us of being contenders.
For sure. Yeah. Ross, anything more you want to throw into the mix on your team?
No, not in regards to Titans, really. I mean, as I was saying, I think that it's going to be a competitive year again for the division. As the division goes, I don't think any are really, sort of roll off the tongue Super Bowl contenders. But I think all 4 teams probably work and would prefer to be slightly under the radar and maybe have a strong second half of the season and make a late push, I guess. So. We look forward to it, don't we? So it's all good.
That's excellent. Well, very much appreciate you coming on the show and giving us your insight into the Tennessee Titans. I say certainly a team that me and Nick are going to be paying a bit of attention to this year. But thank you very much. So obviously now it's no worries. Obviously, time to talk about the best team in the division. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. I know you've been waiting a little while, Robson, but our subscriptions run out. I think we're going to have to cancel the show. I'm really sorry, mate. Only joking. Come on, let's talk about the best team in the division. Nice to have you back on the show again, Robson. Thanks for being patient and waiting with us. I know you've been sipping on the Ribena over there, mate. But now it's your time to shine, buddy. Tell us more about how the draft went for the Jags.
Yeah, so overall, I think as it's been well stated, the Jags are probably going through a massive transition at the moment, looking to really tear everything apart that got them to the 2017 AFC Championship game and really just start fresh going into this season. Obviously, I think a lot of people at the franchise are on their last legs in terms of holding on to their jobs effectively. So I think it was really important to try and nail this draft. Obviously, with the amount of picks we did have, I thought we'd see a lot more excitement. So as I said, some of you guys didn't have a first round pick and some were waiting for some surprises as such. But I thought there'd be a bit more movement for myself. I thought we'd probably go more down the route of a defensive tackle. I thought we might trade up and try and get someone there. But first round, obviously taking Henderson at 9, which was a need because obviously we got rid of Jalen Ramsey after all the debacle with him and Tom Coughlin and the back of the front office as well. So that was a big area of needs. People were fairly critical in some senses. Obviously, he's not the best footballing corner. Obviously, I think that was Jeff Okuda, but in terms of athletic ability, I do think he's probably the best there. And obviously, he suits our scheme. Obviously, Todd Walsh typically plays a more Seattle scheme, so very heavy on the zone coverage and stuff like that. And I think we are going to see more of an all-round look to the secondary, with obviously him and Trey Hunt probably going to be the 1 and 2 in terms of corners. And I think obviously that was a big pick as well, because all the 3 teams in the division have brought in or have some serious weapons at wide receiver. So it was kind of address that immediately and make sure we can really try and stop them taking the mick out of us a little bit, as people tend to think we're going to be the laughing stock of the league this year. So that's a big thing in that sense. Going on into it then, pick number 20, Kayvon Chason, was, I think, a really good pick. Probably got him 3 or 4 picks later than I thought he would have gone. So that was really, really key. Obviously looks towards the look of Yannick obviously departing. Obviously that's been a bit of a farcical story over the last few months, but that was quite big for us to really nail that position as well. Obviously being the leader of the defense at LSU, a really, really good player, really athletically strong. Few injury concerns, but I think he could be a really big difference maker. I think him and Josh Allen could become a really good pair. I know that Graham said about he wanted Clowney and Watt to become that double whammy on the edge, but I do think that if Allen and Chason can do what Allen and Campbell kind of did a little bit, I think if they can really progress and be coached well, I think there's a really good chance that them two could be quite dangerous. And then overall, I think we just took areas to strengthening up and a bit of depth, really, because the last few years we've been battered by injuries at times. So obviously the 2017 season wasn't as bad, but the year after we just were planted by loads of injuries in key areas, and it kind of got a bit sticky. And obviously everyone saw the downfall of the team since then. So again, just addressing needs I thought were really key. Obviously Devon Hamilton in the 3rd, I think that's a really good pick for us. I think he'd be a really good player in the nose tackle position. Really need to stop the run, as obviously every team in this division has got a really solid run game as such, or we just can't really stop it. I think it's a mixture of the two. Obviously Texans with Johnson, Derrick Henry, got to say no more about him, and obviously the double whammy at the Colts and obviously Taylor and Mack. I think it's key that in that division we try and stay competitive and make sure we don't leave gaping holes, which I saw too much of last year, really. And then obviously down the order, just brought in again players that are going to compete, hopefully make us stronger. And I've come in with a bit of an attitude where before it seemed to be like there's a lot of characters in the dressing room, but now it looks like we've got a roster full of people that are just eager to get better, to win, and obviously work together as a team, if I'm honest, from what we picked.
Robson, just quickly, obviously I know we spoke about this on the Jags Only show that we did, but do you think the GM and the head coach are on the hot seat this year?
Yeah, as I stated on another podcast the other day, I do think Caldwell, although he did seem to draft well at the time, you look back on it, he never really tends to keep hold of any big names. Obviously he drafts, apart from the odd call here and there. Some of his picks are quite questionable. I do look at them and think an eyebrow raised there, but him more than Marone. I think Marone's been caught in the middle of something that's really, really not good for any head coach, just trying to be out there and coach his football team, really. Obviously caught with the Coughlin and the Ramsey, just everything like that along with it. There's just so much that's gone on in his tenure. I don't think he's really had a good enough stint to be able to just knuckle down and just try and get us better as a football team, really. Obviously we've made some comical errors in terms of paying Blake Bortles and obscene amount of money, thinking he was going to be the next best thing for us going forward. Obviously that went down the pan pretty quickly, and then obviously bringing in Nick Foles as well, which wasn't ideal in that sense, but obviously he goes down in week 1 after about 1 quarter's worth of football, and that kind of ruins it from there. So I think both of them, again, I've got to really show it. I think obviously with Marone bringing in Jay Gruden as your OC, and obviously Ben McAdoo as your QB coach, it looks like they're going to give some solid knowledge over to Minshew to make him better, and obviously hopefully improve his game. But I do think that it'd be more Caldwell than Marone going forward. I think Caldwell's a time where it could be a bit. These have got hit. That's why I think we did use all 12 draft picks. I think that's why there wasn't really no moving up or down board. I think it was just pick players, have that bulk there of the picks for this year, and hopefully try and build within that, if I'm honest.
Talking of Jay Gruden, did you see that thing that he apparently sent to one of his Washington players on Twitter?
Yeah. So, yeah, Nick, if I'm honest, mate,
Yeah.
To me, do you know what? Right, I saw that and I thought, okay, so it's one of his players, but why doesn't he have his coach's name in his phone?
It's like one of the sort of texts I send you in the middle of the night, Grandad, isn't it?
Yeah, but I won't tell you what you're in my phone as, but you get what I mean. Why would you not have your head coach in your phone as HC, J, whoever? And it was just like, I can't believe that, the coach is like, yeah, I'll meet you and we'll sort this out. And just to me, it was just, and I like Jay Gruden. I thought he had a bad, well, let's be honest, everyone has a bad time in Washington. And I can't say their second name, but a lot of people that go through that building have a bad time. So it to me, I saw that and I was like, really? You don't have your head coach on your WhatsApp or in your phone, and like you're like, who's this man?
I think we need a whole new show of about 3 hours long to talk Washington. Right?
Well, we could have had one last week, but unfortunately, we had technical difficulties with obviously the person that came on. But I like Jay Gruden, even if he does send weird texts to his players and stuff.
Yeah, I think I was.
Sorry, Robson.
No, it's fine. I was just going to touch on. I think if it was to be true in terms of all these rumours, then it's just. I think it's just such a Jaguars thing to do. Like, you bring in someone that has a really good background in terms of his offensive play. Like, that part of his tenure at Washington had good success at times, and it's just a case of for these things to come out. It wouldn't surprise me anymore with the amount of things that I've seen since following the Jags. I've seen so many different things now. If that was to be true, and he's offering out his players, I'm just not shocked anymore. But obviously, I hope it's not true. I hope it's more down
that
Snyder's
could be a
route.
good news celebrity death match. Could it not?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, I think him aside, I think it's a really good hire in that sense. Obviously, I think we picked up some free agents on the offense. Obviously, with Tyler Eifert, that's got a history with Jay Gruden. I think we've got a good chance there to have some chemistry. Obviously, bringing in Chris Thompson as well, who played pretty well under him as well, which makes me think that we're going to pass the ball quite a lot more, which is obviously probably why we didn't sign Fournette or opt to take on his extension. I do feel we're just going to air it out a little bit more and maybe see Fournette a little bit at times in the game here and there.
That's the other thing. Fournette is a real enigma because his first couple of years he ran, you could see that they didn't trust balls, so they're just going to bombard. And I'm actually quite surprised they didn't take up his fifth-year option, but I can kind of understand why they didn't, because he had, for the last couple of years, he's been quite absent, if you like. Maybe it's scheme, I don't know. But it'll be interesting this year to see if they do play action, do more, not trick plays as such, but I think Fournette's still a good back.
Yeah, I think last year he had a solid year, obviously a 1,000-yard season. He did really well in that sense. Again, the year after the championship game, our O-line got battered to pieces and we had some absolute nobodies starting in there. So that kind of didn't help. I think from then it just got a bit worse. Obviously, he had a debacle in Buffalo where he had that incident, kind of got a bad rep from that and certain issues, obviously with him and Tom Coughlin. But I think, unlike Derrick Henry, obviously Derrick Henry's a really physical presence. And obviously like Fournette's a really hard running back and he really hits gaps as he kind of showed last year. But I don't think he's really that bell cow as Henry can be to really just run you over and really nail down his dominance on you. So I think kind of giving him a lesser workload and really opening up, because I do think that our wide receiver group is quite underrated. Probably doesn't get as much love as it deserves, but then we've not really had a QB that's been able to throw to them other than last year, really. So I think, again, with the trick plays, we could see quite a few of them with Chenault in the second round. He's obviously been in the Wildcat a few times, so we could see a lot of different looks here and there, and just some positive positivity, really. That's the main thing.
I think definitely this year is a rebuild year for Jacksonville. I'll still watch them at 6 o'clock if the Niners are on at 9:25 because they are.
Them. You absolutely love the Jags.
I've
Your
always
second team.
I've always liked the Jags. Always liked them. A, because they embrace London, and even when Balls was QB and he flashed occasionally. Yeah, I've always liked the Jags. I've always liked them, and I kind of want them to do well. But when they then suck, it's kind of like, why am I wasting 3 hours at 6 o'clock in the evening when I could be watching Pete's favourite programme, Red Zone, with Todd McClure? Why do I invest my time? I know it's Scott Hansen, but as you know, I call him Scott McClure. I just tell me why I should watch the Jags this year.
I think, give it off last year, obviously Minshew brought a bit of excitement to the team, really.
Cheerleaders. They've got some good cheerleaders.
Possibly.
The Jags roar. I'll give you that.
I think this season, I think people that follow the franchise are optimistic because I think Minshew's come in and brought a bit of swaz to the offense and made that quite exciting. But then again, I think as an NFL as a whole, I think they just want to see us get absolutely hammered. So people will tune in for that. As I think everyone's agreed, we're going to probably finish bottom of the division, which is no shock to me in terms of everything that's going on. I think there'll be a few surprises in there, and I think we'll run some teams really close. But I think overall, it's just going to be a case of people want to see, okay, how's it going to go? Marone and Caldwell seem to be again on their last legs. Shad Khan's come out and said he wants a winning franchise just with a click of a finger, it seems. But obviously, that's not the case. I think it's a case of we've got some really good young players. We've got the youngest roster in the league. Obviously, next year we have the third highest, I think, cap space around 97 million. So there could be some room next year to obviously grow and obviously help these younger players out as well if they get any luck this year. Obviously, the pandemic.
So you're not then thinking it's like win now is a big statement to make, but you're not expecting them to be challenging in the division or the playoffs this year. You think it's a rebuild, part one. Let's see what happens. But do you think Shad Khan will accept let's say a 500 season? Do you think he'll accept that with those two still in there, or are you?
Go on, sorry.
Or are you thinking that patience is running? Because NFL owners are a weird breed. Some are happy to be mediocre because they're still raking in the millions from the TV and what they get on game day and stuff like that. He's all right. Yeah, he can play for Halls apparently and stuff like that, but that's another story. But he's reinventing the team because, they're changing their name. And, of course, that's going to make all of those problems go away because they're going to be the red tips. I didn't mean to. Whoever tips. He's quite a patient owner, Shad Khan. And he's shown that before. But the biggest thing he did, I think, was get rid of Tom Coughlin because I think, and we spoke about this before, Coughlin was the cancer in that building.
Uh-huh.
And they've got rid of him, and it's a clean slate. And hopefully the GM and Doug Marone can get it done, but it's still quite on a knife edge, I think.
Yeah, going from that point, I think going into this season, and I think probably towards its schedule, I think with this pandemic and everything that's going on, I do think that the Jags could probably benefit at the start of the year. Obviously, every team can have limited time to be together in person to really work on obviously different things they want to implement in different schemes and games and whatnot. So I do think that the start of the year, especially the first 4 or 5 games, are quite big for the Jags to get off to a good start as such. Obviously, in the first 5 weeks, we played 2 of the new rookie QBs in Tua and obviously Joe Burrow. So there's 2 games there that I'd like to think we'd have a good chance of winning in that sense, and hopefully for Gardner Minshew's sake has a good time. Because I think at the end of the day, I think they want to roll with Minshew. I really do. Obviously, they've not brought anyone in behind him that's obviously any sort of level to compete as a starter. So they're obviously going to roll with him. They're going to work with him and try and make him as good as he can be. And I think it's his team until he kind of throws it away, really, more than the team saying, no, we don't really want you. So yeah, I think massive rebuild. Looking forward to 21 and 22 in terms of the season, and hopefully then we'll see a bit more of a structured team and hopefully be able to compete with the other 3 teams in the division for a start, I think.
That's very interesting. You say when you play Miami, it'll be Tua. I don't think so. I think Fitzmagic is going to reign for at least 7 or 8 weeks.
Well, he might throw a few picks here and there then, because he's pretty renowned for that. And I think that could be the game where Tua then comes in, you don't know. So I think it's just hopeful, I think, is the best way to put it for us. Either way.
Fitzmagic is the way.
It's not going to be an easy.
forward.
It's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy season, though. Like you say, how having 12 draft picks and rebuilding on a wacky off season, it is going to be a very hard job for your guys. And I'd like to think, even if you guys sort of don't do what you were expecting maybe before this, I kind of hope that the coaches just don't sort of get fired or sacked, whatever, because it's going to be a very hard season for many teams this year. And I say 12 draft picks coming into you, a real young team. It's going to be tricky for you, mate. It's definitely going to be tricky.
Very much so. I think overall as a schedule, obviously, as the guys have said, they probably see themselves going 2-0 against us, which I can't really fault, to be honest with you. I think my schedule predictions, I had us only beating one of the teams, and that was the Colts in week 1, purely because week 1's just a bit of a guess, if I'm honest. I think so many teams are trying to work each other out, and we could get away with it, obviously being at home as well. Although Philip Rivers does have our number. He seems to batter us when he wins us, obviously against us at times. But yeah, the Titans and the Texans, I think that'll just be too much for us. I think Watson in Houston, I think he's got more of an all-rounded wide receiver group now, so that'll make it even more tricky to try and stop him. Plus, he's very good once he's outside the pocket, very good improvising plays. And then the Titans have got, I say, like Henry, who's just an absolute machine if he gets through. And obviously then Tannehill, those are really good ball to obviously some really good weapons that they've got, as we said about AJ Brown earlier on. So I think I had us going around 6-10, which is the same as last year. Some cases it could be optimistic. I do, though, feel with that record, as long as there's signs of improvement all around the roster, overall seeing individual players really do well, and hopefully seeing the coaches implement their game plan as best as they can to give us the best opportunity to win, as long as we stay in games, because last year we did get battered quite a bit at times and really showed our flaws. Yeah. So I think if we can be anywhere around there but show signs of improvement for 2021, I think everything will stay the same, if I'm honest.
Brilliant stuff, mate. It's good to talk more Jags football. I say we had the Jags show, sort of certainly allowed me to learn more about your team. I know Nick, I say, is a massive fan of the Jags, and it's always good having you on the show, Robson. You are a good friend of the show and a Shank Club member now. So thanks very much for giving us all the intel and the information.
So that means then that he is the 6th Beatle, because obviously Chris from the New York Jets is the 5th.
Chris from the Jets.
So does that mean that Robson is now the 6th Beatle? There's too many Beatles. He definitely steps up to the mark.
I'll take whatever I can get. It's fine, not a problem.
Well, obviously, what we like to do after this, fellas, now that you've all sort of said your piece about your teams, is perhaps maybe open some questions out if you guys want to talk to one another, if you guys have got questions or you want to maybe sort of find out a bit of information about one of your friends' teams here. I don't know if you guys have got any questions that you want to fire at each other at all.
It's not a question, but I want to say a lot of teams are not going to like coming to the AFC South next year. I don't think strongest talent-wise, I don't think we are. But it's going to be a hard division and a hard teams to beat. Even the Jags, I know we give them a lot of stick. But I think they're not a nice place to come. They're not nice teams to come to. I think Nick was saying 3 of us beat Kansas City last year at Chiefs and stuff like that. So I just want to say this is going to be a hard division to beat, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than what most people think. Just wonder what people thought about that.
Yeah, you're going Grant.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Our schedules are usually quite similar. That's just the way it runs. And I see there's a couple of teams in there that were a lot stronger in previous years rolling into the AFC South this year. But I think we were talking about the nostalgia side of it. People look at teams from a couple of years ago and think, yeah, they're just going to roll into that team, into that city, get the win and roll out. I don't think it's going to be like that this year. You know, Green Bay, we've got Green Bay this year. I think the Titans play them the 27th away. So it's like a snow game. But you guys are used to playing outside. So, you know, there's nothing daunting there. We've got them, I think, at NRG. I don't believe they're as strong as they have been in years past. You know, the Steelers.
It's interesting when we went through his schedules. Everyone I think mentioned a loss or a tough game at Green Bay, but I think talent-wise, when you look at the rosters, I think each of the teams could give them a good run for their money at the minute. I don't think they're, I know Aaron Rodgers is obviously capable of, brilliance and whatever, but I don't think they're quite as strong as a lot of people make them out to be somehow. And it wouldn't surprise me if each of our teams, gave them a good run for the money or got a couple of wins up there, or if it's at home or what have you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I know that we've got look at Chicago as well away. That'll be a good game to play, but I think they don't have the offensive capabilities against some of our defenses. That's the issues here. It's the offset of, okay, we'll go in there, but I believe our defense can outpower your offense, which means our offense doesn't have to play as good, or vice versa. That's how it all comes down to. And I think that our 4 teams, and the schedules that we've got have a lot of that winning piece over a lot of teams.
Talking about the schedules there, Graham, I mean, obviously, I'm all in on the Texans this year, but I look at your schedule and it does worry me. You've got a tough schedule. You look at some of them games and I'm thinking, you boys are going to be the team to beat. You're going to go all the way. And I look down at your schedule and I think, it's a tough schedule you boys have got this year.
The start's horrible.
Yeah, it really does, yeah.
Sorry,
we're away to Kansas week 1,
and then the Ravens,
home week
and then the
2.
Steelers.
I think we're away to the Jags.
Steelers.
Week 3. Yeah, we've got the Steelers in there.
Steelers week 3, and then Vikings week 4. It's a bad tough. It's very tough.
Thanks to if COVID keeps going the way it is, I was meant to be going to the Steelers game. So I was looking forward to getting to.
Yeah, that's September the 27th for week 3.
Yeah, so I was meant to...
If you do get there, Graham, find a terrible towel and burn it and put it on Twitter, put it on whatever, just so I can laugh. Everything.
No, I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that. I would take it back.
Send it to me and I'll burn it. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so
can I have mine? But I just think that the schedule for you, Graham, it does look really tough. I'm digging on you guys, but I think that schedule might be the only downside, the only killer for you, and it might be the sort of gap that maybe someone like Tennessee or the Colts sort of need to maybe sort of top that division. It's interesting to sort of hear Ross's thoughts, saying that he's not too sure that that they're going to sort of do any better than last year. Obviously, Harrison's expecting sort of slightly bigger things. So interesting, obviously, to say Texans looking to maybe sort of do the same again. Titans possibly a little bit down, Colts possibly up, but with the schedule the Texans have got, going to be really tight. It's a really exciting division.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if you put the Jags out of the picture, sorry, Robson, those 3 teams.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, the Jags are involved in this league as well.
I forgot about the Jags. That it is an interesting division, definitely. I'd like to see it pan out, and I would like to see the Jags do well. I can't see it. I think it's a rebuilding year, and to be honest, I don't think the Jags have been the same since 51 retired, and I'm not going to pronounce his name. And I know me and Robson have spoke about this on Twitter, and I'm not going to even attempt it. So, Robson, Tell me his name, because if I pronounce it, it will be totally wrong.
Paul Podlesny.
There you go. And that was Mr. Jaguars. And that was, again, one of the reasons why I did like the Jaguars, because...
So he struggles just saying he struggles. So...
Pete, don't. You know, Pete and I had watched him in all the games that we've been to, and he always stood out as a really good guy, 100%. And I don't think the Jaguars have got that back since then. So it's kind of quite hard. But on another subject, who are all of your sleepers in the NFL this year? Who do you think is going to surprise a few people? Pete, start with you. Who's your sleeper?
I mean, it's not really a sleeper team because I think people are expecting the Texans to do well. But I seriously have said from the beginning of this and from watching them at the back end of last season that I legitimately think the Texans are going to win the Super Bowl. But like I say, if they get anything out of that schedule, they'll prove that they are good enough to do it. But like I say, it might be controversial, and I'm sure there's not too many people that think it, but I seriously think that this is the Texans' year to win a Super Bowl. I think Deshaun Watson is brilliant. He's just as good as Mahomes. He's just as good as Jackson. And I really, really think that they're going to have a good season. So it might not necessarily be a sleeper team because I think people are expecting big things of them. But if I had to go with a team, I'm going to say the Texans. How about you, Harrison?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think there's a lot of things going into the season in the unknown with all the big moves like Brady to Tampa and all that. So as much as it's hard to say, I think a lot of people have written the Patriots off already. And if there's one thing we learned over the years with Belichick, you can never write the Patriots off. So being a Colts fan, this really hurts to say, but I'm going to go with the Patriots. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
Do you think Cam starts week 1? Because a lot of the rumours are that there's going to be a QB competition in training camp and that Stidham is going to get the lead for the first few weeks and obviously push Cam into being what they expect him to be. And I've seen that quite a lot on Twitter, that Stidham, it's his job to lose in training camp.
I feel like we all know what Belichick likes, and we all know what Cam Newton's like. He's, a lot of people think he's a bit of a diva and all this, loves himself too much. And I think he has to show that, he's not here to. It's not here to be the Cam Newton show. It's here to win. It's a winning system, sort of thing.
I think he's got to be a team player and show that he's a team player. And if Stidham starts the first few weeks and stinks, and then he comes in and does what he does, fair enough. But it wouldn't surprise me if Belichick did a Belichick and put Stidham in week 1. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I do what everyone sort of says that it's the scheme and everything that the Patriots play, and they're still going to have a good season. Tom Brady. I know this is going to pain you, Nick, but he is the GOAT. It's 20 years of the Patriots.
No, he's
Patriots
not the GOAT.
Are not going to be the Patriots of what they have been. I'm afraid, mate. I knew I'd get you going on that one.
There is only one GOAT,
Brilliant.
And that's number 16 from the San Francisco 49ers. There is only one. There is no,
I'll get you on that one. But no, good shout, Harrison. At the end of the day, Patriots, I couldn't see it would be a sleeper team, absolutely, man. Ross, what do you think, man, as a sleeper this season?
I mean, I'm not so sure they're a sleeper team. I think possibly the biggest improver are going to be the Broncos. I know it's a tough div with the Chiefs, but I think they've drafted well. I think they've added a couple of nice additions. I liked what I saw of Drew Lock last year. And I don't know. I think they could be just sort of coming together at the right time. Coached well. I think they could be a good outside bet.
Yeah, they've put some weapons around Drew Lock to obviously sort of make it work for him. To bringing in Melvin Gordon, so they've got 2 decent running backs there with Lindsay, obviously signing a few other sort of guys there. So absolutely sort of fair point. I think the Broncos could be a team, obviously in that division with Kansas. It's not going to be easy. I know Nick quite likes Drew Lock. Obviously, he was from Missouri as well, who was playing with our buddy Cale Garrett. But I know sort of Nick quite likes Drew Lock, so I'm sure he'll be watching a bit of the Broncos this year as well.
Don't steal my thunder. I'm going last. Don't steal my thunder.
Go on then, Robson, you're up, buddy.
Yes, I've kind of got 2. Like, firstly, as we were just talking about Texas schedule and stuff, I've got as a player person, a person like a sleeper, I can see Deshaun Watson being a good candidate for MVP this year. As we've touched on, the schedule is very tough. People think he's really going to struggle without Hopkins next to him, but I think if he can overcome that with his wide receiver group and he can overcome the schedule as we've touched on, I think he's got a really good opportunity to be MVP. I think he could put up some serious numbers in that sense. Not to grow on the Texans too much because I shouldn't, but and then I think as a team perspective, maybe not in terms of going all the way to win the Super Bowl, but I think someone like the Falcons could be a real underdog, especially in the division they're in, because the Saints, I think people see them as the front runners, but then I think with Brady just immediately going to Tampa, I think that immediately gives them hopefully go straight all the way and win it as such. But I think the Falcons, they've done some nice bits in the obviously in the off season with some recent additions they brought in to areas that they needed to fill, and obviously they drafted fairly well as well. And obviously Matty Ryan's obviously a really solid QB, and obviously having Julio Jones doesn't hurt either. So I think they could be a team as such that could probably upset and probably surprise a few people. I think along the year.
Nice, good shout. I know Nick again is a big fan of Matty Ryan, so I'm sure he'll again probably back you up on that one. Graham,
yeah,
I'm buddy. Who do you think?
I'm going to agree with Ross. I think the Broncos. I think this could be their breakout year, and I know they've got the Chiefs in the division, but you don't always have to win the division to win the Super Bowl. You know, if you can just have as good a record but sneak in the back and let someone else do the business with them and knock them out, then you just take up. If you become the power team left in the playoffs, and that's what matters. You know, the Tennessee Titans showed that last year when they made it into the playoffs. They come in behind us as the number 2, and then went on to dismantle some pretty good teams. You know, when they took out the Patriots in the first game, that set it all in motion. It's now a different setup. You know, it wasn't going to be the teams who everyone thought was going to play each other. So, yeah, and then was it the Ravens you took out? Everywhere down the line, you've got to look like, okay, so if that's who we reckon is going to be in the next round, and they get knocked out, and that everything can change. So I think the Broncos are in a good place to be in that respect. You know, Drew Lock was solid against us last year. He gave us a whooping last season. You know, and if he can do that game in, week in, week out, then they've got nothing to worry about. So I totally agree with Ross on that one.
Come on in, President. Are you going to make it a hat trick?
Of course I am. Drew Lock, Horseface, Broncos.
Don't get me started on Horseface. You don't get. You know I've got beef with Horseface.
Yeah, only because he cut your fanboy, the failed baseball player. I can't even remember. Oh, T-Boy. Tebow. Sorry. To me, the Broncos this year, with what he's put around Drew Lock, to me, I can't see past Denver. I think they're going to be. I hope they're going to be a really good team. Drew Lock is my boy, Mizzou. He lit it up in his senior year, got drafted. Unfortunately, he was put in a kind of tough position. He won, I think, either 5 or 6 of the last games of last season. They've drafted Albert O. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. The tight end from Mizzou, who was his go-to guy. And to me, I honestly think with not so much the running back, I still think Derrick Henry, not Derrick Henry, Philip Lindsay, is going to be the main back. And I love the receiver call. The defense is probably on its last hurrah, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did go all the way. You know, it's one of those things. But again, I think Horseface is definitely on the hot seat because he is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's drafted some bums. He's brought in some bums. But this year, I think Drew Lock will prove that he actually kind of knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, for me, Denver all day long.
I could see him making the playoffs, mate, but there's no way Drew Lock
I'm not saying they're going to... No,
trophy.
don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to go all the way. Don't get me wrong, because you need a lot of things to fall into place to win the Super Bowl. But
they're going to get frisky.
I think this year they are going to go. I think they'll go playoffs. Not going to win it all, obviously, because everyone has got to beat Mahomes.
Who?
And his mega contract. So it's going to be an interesting ride. But yeah, I think they're to me are the sleeper, but I can't see part. I don't know. I
can't imagine you can see anything through them glasses, mate. You look like Stevie Wonder.
Well, I have to put them on to get rid of them rubbish shirts you've got on in the background. In fact, your toilet roll is hanging up in the middle. You're terrible towel.
I can't hear you through all the seagulls singing over you, mate.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
surprise.
Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know it's not easy to sort of give 2 hours of your weekend up to talk football, but I think it probably just shows the passion that we have over here in the UK. And it also sort of proves to me again just how sort of good the NFL community is over here in the UK and how sort of more knowledgeable we are than sort of what we ever were years ago. So I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your weekend to join us. Just something we're sort of getting started. And I say for me, it's an education to hear about other teams because I'm still just getting used to this game. I keep saying to Nick, I'm going to be the rookie of the year this year because I knew pretty much bugger all before this, and I still know bugger all now. But it's good for me to sort of learn all about your teams and do a little bit of research on them as well. But like I say, really appreciate you taking time out to come on. It does mean a lot to us. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers,
any final words before we close down? Let's go around the horn. Harrison, any final words on what you think is going to happen?
For the Colts, it's really on a coin flip. So I'm not going to brag team up because it's one of them. It could go either way. But we're going to be AFC champions. Why not? Why not dream?
You don't dream, you don't get. That's the thing. Ross, talk to me. Last thoughts.
I'm very, very excited to get the band back together from last year's obviously deep playoff run, and see some more stiff arms and maybe a dark horse MVP shout from Tannehill. Who knows? But I'll keep that one to myself.
Yeah, well, unfortunately you put it on tape now, so we'll bring that back
it's
later in the year. Unfortunately, that's the problem.
And we make sure we rewind it back.
Exactly. You get these live broadcasts, you make these proclamations, and then if it bites you on the arse, we'll go, Ross,
my
do you remember this?
My actual money's on Kyler Murray, but my hope.
You know what? I agree with you. I think he's going to make an impact this year.
I think he'll make strides. Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Niners are still going to win the division. But we go on a tangent.
Isn't it? Yeah. Sorry,
Robson, talk to me.
I think a little bit less optimistic, but just to the three guys that follow the teams in the division, I think if we even go 500 against you guys this year, then I'll be spamming your Twitter pages to make sure you know about it after all the hate today regarding how bad we are. So just keep that in mind for the season. But yeah, thanks very much anyway, guys.
Can I also say about spamming, when the Steelers are rubbish, he's got his thing up there, Pete Benman 1. Please feel free to just give him loads of love, as they say.
If we could do the Steelers as well, he'll be getting plenty. Don't worry.
Mate, I'm all up for banter, you know me.
Yeah, but unfortunately you don't take it very well when your team suck. Right. Okay, so Graham, last one in. Go for it.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing how open the playbook's going to be on offense this year. It's been taken. The offensive duties have been taken away from Bill. He's given them up. Hopkins isn't going to be the guy that Deshaun's looking for all the time. We've got 2 decent catching running backs in the Johnson twins out at the back. I'm also looking forward to a fit Justin Reed playing in the secondary, because he played all season with a bust shoulder and he was pretty decent hurt. So let's see how good he is when he's fully fit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the season ahead. I'm also looking forward to seeing if any fans get in anywhere, because the grumbling's coming out of everywhere is not good. So I'm hoping that fans can go. I've heard there's no tailgating at the Texans, no tailgating at the Bengals. So I'm just hoping that everyone can, or somebody can get in. You know, I don't want this fake crowd noise getting pumped in. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
What I do in Minnesota and New Orleans.
Yeah. And Atlanta.
Seattle.
Atlanta as well, I think, did they not?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of fake crowd noise pumped in.
We'll take any football, though, won't we? Surely we'll take any football.
There's going to be a season, as I've said on I don't know how many shows. There's going to be
I know
a
you
season.
keep saying this, mate. Money talk, but it is every day seems to be getting worse and worse, though, mate, doesn't it? I mean, you look at JJ Watt's post he put the other day. They've got no idea what's going on. It's just there's no decisions being made, and hey,
but that's
I know what you're saying.
NFL.
Money talks.
That's down to the NFL and the NFPA. At the end of the day, the Premier League, which is the biggest money-making operation in the whole world, forget the NFL, they put games on. They've had no people. They've done this, they've done that. All the NFL have to do is ensure you can get some distancing. So all they do is lengthen the player box that you see on the TV. No fans, 25% fans, whatever it is. They cannot afford for this season not to go ahead.
It's going to be fine, because all they've got to worry about is just not give their jerseys to each other at the end of the game, and everything's going to be fine.
You know, the money's there, the television contracts are there, the advert revenue is still there. So do what the Premier League are doing. Everyone's happy. We all get a product. And they pipe in the crowd. Who cares? No, it doesn't matter. We want football.
I'm sure we all agree. Yeah, we just want football. That's for sure. Just a quick one, fellas. I know you guys probably do the old fantasy footballs and stuff like that. But it would be good to have you guys this year. I don't know if you ever just use the dumbed down Sky Sports NFL challenge. It's nice and basic, but I'm probably going to be putting a mini league together for that. And it'll be great to have obviously you guys sort of joining in on that as well, just so we can have a little bit of banter through the season. So I'll maybe hit you up when that sort of hopefully comes live.
Yep.
Good stuff.
We got a comment here from Phil, and that was the guy from the Jags that came
Comedy
on,
Genius. Yes, the stand-up comedian.
Yeah, but he didn't mention the Jags, so that's quite poor, really. But hey ho. Right, Phil. Thanks for the comment. Indeed. Right, we're gonna wrap this up now. It's been a great chat. It's been a good couple of hours. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you all, and we will hopefully catch up with you during the season, because obviously, again, we want to follow up on what's been going on, what's been said. Pete and I really appreciate your time, and Jags are a joke. That writes itself. Phil, I can't comment on that. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thanks for your live comments. We've really enjoyed it. Don't forget, you can follow us on all platforms at Shank Club NFL. If you want to send us an email, it's at shankclubnfl@mail.com. From myself, Nick, thank you for everyone for joining, and I've really enjoyed it. Pete, last word is for you.
Thanks, mate. Nice to tee me up when I'm not prepared. But again, fellas, really appreciate you joining the show, and enjoy your weekend, boys. And let's hope we get some football. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.